Let's just jump right into a meditation right now. I want to take you into a really good energetic experience with the ancient sacred texts and with these prophets, saints, mystics, and sages. So I like to ask everyone to get in a comfortable position. This time you can be sitting, lying down, or whatever works for you. This is going to be more of a meditative experience. And start to relax. And I will be giving you some inspirations to allow your unconscious mind to absorb, take in, and contemplate. And I'm going to do that in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You're now deeper and deeper. I want you to feel your whole body going down deeper. Just feel all your body parts relaxing, your feet, your hands, your toes, your fingers, your legs, your arms. Just feel the muscles just kind of relax and loosen in your torso, chest, your neck. Even in your face, we want you to loosen up your eyes, your nose, your mouth, all your facial muscles. And just breathe in and breathe out and let your mind focus primarily on that breathing in and breathing out. You are going to be taking in now to your deepest parts of your soul some gold from the ancient sacred texts. Again, I'm going to take you deeper, and I'm going to do that on a count of 5. And with each number, I want your depth of meditation to go much, much deeper. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. As I speak these things to you, I want you to see in your mind's eye golden stream of light entering through your ears, into your mind, into your heart, and all throughout your soul. From Blessed Raphaela Mary, I will see the hand of God in all that happens to me, attributing nothing to individual people who are but instruments used by him in the work of my sanctification. From the flower ornament scripture from Mahayana Buddhism, the enlightening beings who are thus skillful in effectuation of the science of these specific analytical knowledges, having reached the 9th stage, having attained the treasury of teachings of the enlightened, acting as great preachers of the teaching, come to attain the concentration containing meanings, the concentration containing principles, concentration containing evocation of knowledge, the concentration containing illumination. From Zen Master Dogen. Because mountains are high and broad, the way of riding the clouds is always reached in the mountains. The inconceivable power of soaring in the wind comes freely from the mountains. From the Bhagavad Gita, the words of Krishna. Hazardous and slow is the path to the unrevealed, difficult for physical man to tread. But they for whom I am the supreme goal, who do all work renouncing self for me and meditate on me with single-hearted devotion, these I will swiftly rescue from the fragments cycle of birth and death, for their consciousness has entered me. From the Book of Enoch. Wisdom is poured forth like water, and glory fails not before him forever and ever. For potent is he in all the secrets of righteousness. But iniquity passes away like a shadow and possesses not a fixed station. From the flower ornament scripture of Mahayana Buddhism. Some lands are dirty, some are pure, pleasant or painful, each is different. This comes from the inconceivable ocean of acts. Cyclic phenomena are always like this. These are the words of St. Thomas Aquinas on evil. The demon knows cogitations better than the soul of another man does, not because the demon sees cogitations themselves, but because he sees them through more hidden external signs. From Heaven and Hell by Emanuel Swedenborg. The evil within a person is hell within him, just as the good within a person is the heaven within him. From the Dialogues of St. Catherine of Siena. If you are able to confess, I wish you to do so. And if you are able and do not, you will be deprived of the fruit of the blood. from Nayana to Loka. The world, however, is given to pleasure, delighted with pleasure, enchanted with pleasure. Truly, such beings will hardly understand the law of conditionality, the dependent origination of everything. Incomprehensible to them will also be the end of all formations, the forsaking of every substratum of rebirth, the fading away of craving, detachment, extinction. From the Kitabi Igan by Baha'u'llah, were the eye to be anointed and illumined with the collyrium of the knowledge of God, it would surely discover that a number of voracious beasts have gathered and preyed upon the carrion of the souls of men. The words of the Spanish gypsy. Perhaps I have lived before in some strange world where first my soul was shaped, and all this passionate love and joy and pain that come, I know not whence, and sway my deeds are old imperious memories, blind yet strong, and this world stirs within me still. From the Dead Sea Scriptures, howbeit in accordance with the tender mercy of God, in accordance with his goodness, and with the wondrous manifestation of his glory, he has always granted it to some of the earth-born to gain admittance to the congregation of the holy, to be reckoned among the community of angelic beings who are with him, to have station there for life everlasting, and to be in one lot with his celestial holy ones. All men are punished or marked out for distinction according to the lot which God has assigned to each, some for eternal shame and contempt, and some for life everlasting. From the book of Job, which is the way to the dwelling place of the light, and where is the abode of darkness, that you may take them to their boundaries and set them on their homeward paths? From a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, Shanti Deva, there is nobody who lives happily with anger. Hence the enemy, anger, creates sufferings such as these. But whoever assiduously overcomes it finds happiness now and hereafter. From the book of Psalms. If I ascend into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. From the book of Hebrews, see that you do not reject the one who speaks. For if they did not escape when they refused the one who warned them on earth, how much more in our case if we turn away from the one who warns from heaven? From Heaven and Hell by Emanuel Swedenborg. The only means of controlling and restraining these elements and keeping the hellish mob under restraint is the fear of punishment. No other means exists. For if it were not for the fear of punishment and torment, what is evil would plunge into rages and the whole place would fall apart. Earthly kingdoms where there is no law or punishment. From the book of Corinthians, therefore, we are not discouraged. Rather, although our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this momentary light affliction is producing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to what is seen, but to what is unseen. For what is seen is transitory, but what is unseen is eternal. From Moon in a Dewdrop by Zen Master Dogen. When you find your place where you are, practice occurs, actualizing the fundamental point. From the Tao Te Ching, the words of Lao Tzu, the sage dwells in affairs of non-action, carries out a doctrine without words. He lets the myriad creatures rise up, but does not instigate them. He acts, but does not doom. He completes his work, but does not dwell on it. From Thomas Kempis in The Imitation of Christ. He who knoweth things as they are, and not as they are said or seem to be, he truly is wise, and is taught of God more than of men. He who knoweth how to walk from within, and to set little value upon outward things, requireth not places, nor waiteth for seasons, for holding his intercourse with God. From the writings of the early church fathers, the Contra Celsum by origin. Is it not rational that souls should be introduced into bodies in accordance with their merits and previous deeds? Every soul comes into this world strengthened by the victories or wounded by the defeats of its previous life. Its place in this world as a vessel appointed to honor or dishonor is determined by its previous merits or demerits. Its work in this world determines its place in the world, which is to follow this. From Sri Ramakrishna. God dwells in all beings, but you may be intimate only with good people. You must keep away from the evil-minded. God is even in the tiger, but you cannot embrace the tiger on that account. From the Dhammapada of Buddhism. When the wise man casts off laxity through vigilance, he is like unto a man who, having ascended the high tower of wisdom, looks upon the sorrowing people with an afflicted heart. He beholds suffering, ignorant men as a mirror beholds people in a valley. From the Kabbalah, the Zohar, Volume 5. Ye truly virtuous, enter and see, for permission is given you to enter, as the place where the curtain is hung. Happy is your lot. From the Holy Quran, these are the words of Muhammad. And on the day when the heavens asunder with clouds, and the angels are sent down as they are sent, the kingdom on that day rightly belongs to the beneficent, and it will be a hard day for the disbelievers. From Being and Vibration by Joseph Rael. This is a tribal author, Tiwa Indian. Listening is understanding the mystery of vibration, because listening has to do with the inner vibration of the descending intelligence of the moment. Meditators become silence so that they can go to true vibration, which becomes the audible workings of vibration, of which ideas are made. Inner listeners, or people who are continually listening to life as it is unfolding, are true humans because they are picking up vibrational messages before the messages become crystallized perceptual forms that can then be articulated by the brain. From Thich Nhat Hanh. To encounter a master is said to be worth a century of studying his or her teaching, because in such a person, we witness a living example of enlightenment. How can we encounter Jesus or the Buddha? It depends on us. Many who look directly into the eyes of the Buddha or Jesus were not capable of seeing them. When a sage is present and you sit near him or her, you feel peace and light. Let's come back out of our meditation now. Pull yourself inward again, focusing on your breath as you begin to start allowing yourself to feel parts of your body, your hands, your toes, your fingers, your feet, your legs, arms, torso, chest, the back of your neck, mouth, your nose, and your eyes. And start allowing the vibration to slowly release and diminish and pull away as you are returning back to your state. And if you can, recall something from this meditation that struck you more than anything else. And take note of it and come out of this. When you're ready, I'd like you to rise and join us back in the workshop. Welcome back, Brian.
Welcome back, everyone. That was amazing.
Was there anything in particular that you would pull out of there?
Yeah.
To you?
Well, maybe like a lot of us, we've done a lot of meditations. I've never had a meditation quite like that before. To have those beautiful, amazing, powerful words that are filled with the Holy Spirit, while having the brainwaves be in that state of receptiveness, to me was very unique. I'm reading The Spiritual Life by Father Adolf Tanqueray, and he was speaking about the soul, speaking about the Holy Spirit as the soul of God. And so I was in that state where I was contemplating on that while I was being open to those amazing words from these amazing souls. And they were all part of that Holy Spirit of God. So I felt I was in that. And so.
Well, that's good. That's great.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
We're going to try to go on an extended journey to this beautiful place in the heavens where the masters reside. This is the worlds where there is no mass retained. This is the worlds where the masters live with one another, and they actually work with one another to work out the things that they're going to do to assist people like us who are living in the below worlds, as we like to call it, and as they refer to it in the ancient sacred texts, we're the worlds of the below, you know. And so in many of the texts, for instance, like if you read in the, you know, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, he will refer to the worlds of the below. You'll see this in Gnostic scriptures, the below worlds. You'll see this as, and so that tells us a little bit about ourselves. We live in the below worlds. So, so it gives us a little bit of humility to start our afternoon. So purification of the soul, discrimination, which involves a great deal of discernment, and we are looking at the process of discipline. And what we have here is, as we enter into these below worlds, which are called mortal realms, the places where the battles between good and evil reside, and where we have that battle going on within our own soul, and we are working towards purifying that darkness that remains within us, so we can actually come to a point where we have a greater amount of light and become compatible to a higher sphere of existence. We, in essence, have to go through this process of identifying and altering those dark elements that are still remaining. And that includes our thoughts, our perceptions, our ideas, our actions. And so we will go through this purification completely from the outside in and the inside out. We will experience it in terms of the way that we are directed through out-of-body experiences, where we are taught the energetic truth about our own choices, our own life, our own ways that we think. There might be ways that we think that are not based on what is true. We will be shown these things, and we will begin to alter our perceptions. We will also learn this by studying mystical theology, which teaches us from the outside in to reform our actual conscience. It helps us to understand and redefine those gradations of what is good and what is evil. And it helps us to then alter our thoughts, our deeds, and our words from the exterior. And when we do this, then the energy is moving from outside to in. Energy always follows course. And this is my little symbol for energy follows course. You might have figured that one out. What this means is that when we do something, when we alter something, energy immediately, naturally abides by that. So if we change an action within our life externally, and even if we are doing it and we're disciplining ourselves to prevent ourselves from continuing to participate in something, but yet we still have the tendency or the desire, the energy will eventually begin to follow course, in that the energy will begin to back up that discipline action that we are placing upon our soul. This is also true as relates to out-of-body travel itself. Just by the very nature of choosing to enter upon a purification path of any kind, we will find that energy follows course, because it is actually entering upon a true spiritual path, a true purification path that actually instigates the out-of-body experience to a significant degree. So when a soul actually engages in the study of mystical theology, which we remember we talked about is basically the science of the soul, the science of forming the soul according to moral precepts, and this is how we do it. We go through these mystical, but also doctrinal, through spiritual reading, through prayer, through meditation. The soul thus forms itself according to what the goal is. Remember, we talked about God is the focus, the one-pointed focus that is the directional center of where we look for that direction. So God being the energy that fuels all things, we looking in that direction, we are looking for reformation according to God's knowledge, God's wisdom, God's will. And so we want our conscience reformed according to God's knowledge, not our own, not our human wisdom, certainly not wisdom from a lower realm, wisdom from a parallel realm. We would like to have higher wisdom, God's particular journey. So this is why we have this constant focus towards God as the end point. He is always the end point, but he's also the focal point. So that's what's happening. So when you start with this purification journey, you are literally creating this trust wherein energy will naturally follow course, and oftentimes people will naturally amend to having some of full consciousness, out-of-body experiences, because you will start receiving direction in your life in one way or another. Might not be exactly the same for every person, but these things will then start happening because this is the action of the Holy Spirit in forming a human being. And so we've been talking about all of these different types of purifications and sharing some of the words of some of these great prophets, saints, mystics, and sages. Do you have anything to add to my recap, Brian?
Yeah, that's fantastic. One thing that comes up for me is you've mentioned when you first started having experiences of the higher realms, you were like blown away. Like, wow, this is, how can anybody ever know that this exists or, you know, experience this? But what you realized and what you're saying right now is that we keep the focus on God. But when you had those experiences, it kept year after year, decade after decade, thousands upon thousands of journeys. You kept going to higher and higher levels as you focused on God. So you kept going through layers as your vibration became higher. And so I think that's important, because if we're thinking that, okay, so we're focusing on God and that's it. No, there's all of these layers and layers and beautiful layers that continue to get higher and higher,
Very well
closer
said.
to God.
That's so true, because yes, the end point is God, and we're looking through as almost like, you know, when you go to see an eye doctor and they have you look through all those different lenses. There's all these lenses in between us, you know, and we have to pass through all those lenses because all those lenses serve a function. They all serve a function in helping us to alter something we don't yet understand about God or about eternity or about existence or about universal being or other things, you know. And when we're talking about purification, it often involves like the karmic purification. But when you go past the ascension pathway and the purification pathway, you're entering into discrimination and discipline, which goes into more of an eternal thrust. You're getting out of this earthly third dimensional stuff and you're going stuff that has more to do with all creation and not just yourself. And so you go into a time and a place where all knowledge is much more significant, much more important, much more relevant to you. And so it changes things because it is no longer you focused, it's we focused, because all life is one. And the irony is, you know, at the beginning of the purification pathway, you start out with learning about and experiencing the oneness of all life. But the oneness of all life is not fully known to you even then. You have these experiences that are mind-blowing and beautiful and existential and, you know, all these beautiful experiences with it. But in terms of understanding what it means you may not fully understand it for many, many, many years, many thousands of experiences later. And frankly, I don't think that I know it at this point. I think there is always a greater knowledge beyond that which I have seen. What I have been given to know has helped me to realize that there is always more than what we have individually seen. And so we have to always remember, wow, if this is what I have seen, then there's probably a great deal more. And so there are all these steps that you're talking about, these lenses, and we have to travel through those lenses in order to actually get to where we will move ever closer to, the greatness that is God. And the purification journey is a journey. This is something that's real important here too. In this purification process, we go through extremes. We get pulled to one extreme in this direction, and then we get pulled to another extreme in this direction, and then we balance out. And then we might get pulled to another extreme in this direction and an extreme in this direction, and then we balance out. And this is part of the process. And we had mentioned a quote from Vimalakirti talking about the ocean of passions. And this is in part what he's referring to, that sometimes what is required is that we just have to experience the excesses. And so let's go ahead and dive in here again with, so some of the things that are really important then being that I want to really focus on is we want to inculcate a practice. And the practice is actually quite simple. It's what the prophets, saints, mystics, sages, and ascetics have been doing for thousands of years. It's not different, but it's prayer, meditation, and spiritual reading. And this is what we want to get people to start practicing. And so we've learned a little bit about prayer, we've learned a little bit about meditation, and we've talked a little bit about spiritual reading. But let's do a simple overview of what that would look like in your practice. In your prayer times, you would want to add, certain vocal prayers, certain prescribed prayers that might relate to your own particular faith. For instance, if you're a Catholic, maybe you do the Divine Mercy Chaplet or the Holy Rosary as your prescribed vocal prayer. If you're Buddhist, maybe you do the Om Mani Padme Hum, or Hindus might do the Gayatri Mantra. Muslims have many prescribed oral prayers, so they've already got it set up 5 times a day. Jews also have a lot to choose from. Most religions have those, so you choose which ones you want to do as your prescribed oral prayers. Then you're going to add to that mental prayers that involve meditation on the mysteries of God. So it's a different kind of prayer where you're going to be communing with God in prayer, and it's a meditation on the mysteries of God. Then you're going to go into the section which St. Teresa of Avila spoke about, the heavenly abode inside your own heart. And that's where you want to have a contemplative place where you can just be with God. And this can be a thoughtless, soundless, just peaceful, quiet place where you are in prayer with God, whether you're speaking or doing anything or not. And so these are the ways that you would want to try to create a daily prayer life. The next thing would be meditation. And we can make this very simple, because what we want to do to make it work is you practice basically mindfulness meditation. It's a Buddhist meditation practice. You want to do the meditations lying down. so that you can approach out-of-body travel experiences without the risk of falling over and knocking yourself out of the state that you're in. So you practice it lying down. Try to add this at some point midday in your routine. And then what you want to do is focus on your breath. And if you have thoughts that arise, you don't obsess about them. You don't give them any extra thought. You just allow them to go away. And this allows you to clear everything out, and it allows you to become an incoming receptacle for God to communicate with you energetically and in words or in other ways. And then the third thing would be spiritual reading, which is how we feed our soul. And this is so important. There was a quote from Elijah that I wanted to share. There was a hand stretching out to me holding a scroll. He unrolled it in front of me. It was written on front and back. On it was written lamentations, dirges, and cries of grief and joy. He then said, "Son of man, eat what you see. Eat this scroll. Then go and speak to the house of Israel." I opened my mouth. He gave me the scroll to eat and then said, "Son of man, feed on this scroll which I am giving you and eat your fill." So I ate it, and it tasted sweet as honey. And that was Elijah. And it's interesting because I've actually had one of my spiritual counseling clients had a mystical experience where this particular person was putting so much energy and effort into, cataloging everything they were reading, bookmarking, highlighting, and doing all this stuff with their spiritual reading, that they never really got anywhere. And this person was shown, eat the scrolls, ingest them, take them in. And he was being shown, you need to take in the nourishment. And it was, don't study them, don't get so caught up in them, take them in, because they are an energy and you need the energy that they bring to you. Every ancient sacred text, every sacred text gives us something of the energy of its writer. And we may not understand every word that they say at the time, but looking at it over and over and over again doesn't help. If you don't get something, don't sit there and mark it all up and waste a lot of time. Just keep going. Keep going. You can always go back. You want to ingest it. You want to take in the nourishment, because that's what the ancient sacred texts are. So look at spiritual reading as being something of spiritual nourishment. We also want to just point out that the spiritual nourishment needs to be something substantive. And so, there's a course of study at our website, and recommended reading materials are on the handout that people can download there. So you can definitely look into that. But look into reading things that are going to have the meat you need for a genuine purification process. Like, for instance, The Spiritual Life by Father Adolphe Tanqueray, The 3 Ages of the Interior Life by Father Reverend Garrigou Lagrange, and there's a whole host of things written by the great mystical theologians of all time. And as I said, you can download and look at some of those lists. Now, some of these books are, to some people, more challenging than others. But what we have to remember is we're doing this because this is the reason we're here. So if you're willing to study, to go to college or to go to school, be willing to give the same effort to the only reason you're here. Unless you just want to keep coming back and going to college and school and forgetting about this, Go ahead.
So for you and how you've thrown your life into this, this is your life's mission. And, as it's going to say in your bio, that you've written 100 books. 100 books? Like, who does that, right? But, and all the journeys that you've done. And you put your life into this. And so if we look at some of these great spiritual works. So think of a master, somebody who's taken their whole life and they have searched, they have gone into this with everything that they have to how deep can they go? And they used every moment of their life to just go as deep as they can and to get as close to God as they can, right? To whatever their potential is of this soul for this lifetime, and they're going for it, and they want to help other people, and then they write some books about it, and they write some things down, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna, yeah, oh, I did this, oh, and then I got, and then we get to this like, well, oh, here's this book, and we get to like pick it up and go, whoa, look, and then there's hundreds of these, and Marilynn, you have 5,000 of these sacred texts. Right? And so many of them are gold. So like you said, you've outlined them, hey, here's what I recommend when you're first getting into it. Here's some books to start off with. When we get into doing another documentary on the sacred texts, and we're going to break it down into, okay, here's a good beginning part, and and if you're going through this, you can look at these books. And so but what you outlined on your site is perfect. Just grab one. Doesn't matter. Whatever one speaks to you, and listen to this person's life, that their spiritual life, that they have experienced and gone in as deep as they could. And then we get to like see what they did. Like, wow, that's such a gift.
It really is. And that's why it's the gold, because literally they did give their life blood, their life breath to writing down the last words of someone before they were leaving this realm for good, because they were finished, And speaking of which, let me throw out here the last words of the Buddha. So this is from the Pali Canon. Then the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus. Indeed, bhikkhus, I declare this to you. It is in the nature of all formations to dissolve. Attain perfection through diligence. This was the perfect one's last utterance. And then this was stated by one of the people who was standing beside the Buddha right after he passed. With the Blessed One's attainment of final nibbana, Saka uttered this stanza: formations are impermanent. Their very nature is to rise and fall, and there is none arises but must cease. True bliss lies in their stilling. And these particular words are profound, not just about just the nature of life and death, but it's also about purification, discrimination, and discipline, because true bliss lies in their stilling. That is the nature of this path. Everything that we are doing is we are stilling these impetuses within us, fetters, attachments. These are noisy things. They're busy, noisy things that are in us. These are energies that are making a lot of noise. And when we still them, that's when we're actually making progress. That's when we're making movement towards the Almighty. And that's what he's saying. True bliss lies in their stilling. All the chaos that we generate, still them. And that's what purification is in its very simplest form. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
How judgment affects us when we judge others. Right? So I used to be a very critical person. They say that the judger and the inner critic are they're like two sides of the same coin. So how much we judge other people is very closely related to how we judge ourselves. So I was very, very critical of myself. And it just, all I had to do was open my eyes and look at somebody, and I could like critique somebody right away and judge. And so I know that the mind can really, and from, the mind is connected to the heart and our feelings, can only hold on to one thought at a time. So then what I did is I just switched up my mantra to love. And actually it was like love, 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 love. I was so I would just go around going love, love. So everywhere I looked, it was love, but it started to help me to not judge others, because no matter who I would look at and what they were doing or whatever, I'd just be like love, love, love. And then I started to do that within myself, and that kind of helped me to overcome my overly critical self. And so I guess like at the heart of that question from the last session about judgment was, if we hold on to judgment and we're going around like, oh, what is that? Like, how does that affect us?
Well, you placed it so well, and you also just demonstrated how energy follows course. So thank you for doing that. You showed how by making some small adjustments, you allowed energy to respond to those adjustments and start working from you from the outside in. Do you see that?
Yes.
And with we hold on to judgments in part because it makes us feel better about ourselves to notice the deficiencies in others. But what happens if you follow an authentic path, and I know that you're seeing this now, that when you follow an authentic purification path, we start realizing that we don't have to be better than other people. We realize, for one, that we aren't. We never will be. We're always going to have these failings and weaknesses. We're just going to try to harness as much as we can of grace and discipline, discernment, and we're going to do what we can through grace and through our own actions of the mind and the heart to purify, to alter these aspects in ourselves as best as we can, knowing that we will still remain flawed and imperfect, and that there is no need for us to be better or worse than anyone else. And in fact, one of the hallmarks of all the saints of every faith was that they actually, as you follow the true spiritual path, the ego gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, so that not only do you not have to be better than other people, not only do you not have to be less than other people, you're totally comfortable realizing you may very well be the worst of all. You might be, if you look at all the graces that God has given you and how you have utilized them, you may literally be the worst of men. And you're okay with it. You're fine with it because you are now understanding the fact that our value is not determined by any of these factors from which we used to judge. Our value is determined by the fact that God created us and we exist, and He has deemed to make us worthy, and therefore we must follow this path. That's what the value of all life is that God created us, and that in and of itself deems that all life is of value. I think as also what happens is that as we proceed forward in the journey, the more that we uncover of our own past lives and the more that we uncover of our own current lifetime, the more that we age, the older that we get, the more we are able to generate genuine, authentic compassion, where we can actually place ourselves in the feet of others, where we can remember what it might have felt like had I been there, had I been that age and thinking that, doing this or doing this, or yes, I can see where I could have fallen into that pitfall. And we can also look at the things where we can honestly say, but for the grace of God go I. For instance, I'll give you a for instance that um, you know, one of my dear friends died in an accident when he was 21. I wrote about him in my books because I spoke with him a lot. And he was in a drinking and driving accident. And, but for the grace of God go I. You know, when I was very young, there were 2 or 3 instances where I shouldn't have been driving, and I was. But for whatever reason, God allowed me to be protected, but he wasn't. So, you know, so we learn these things. We learn that, no, I didn't get that grace because I deserved it and he didn't. It's just, but for the grace of God goes I. You know, it's simply, you know, most people that we know have been saved or protected from something in their life. Many times, moreover, sometimes a lot of things. And we've seen this with our children, we see it with other people. There can be a lot of hypocrisy involved in judging other people, where we can be not self-reflective about things that we honestly could have been capable of ourselves at different points in our own history. Even just in the history of this one lifetime, when we were younger, maybe not as smart, and maybe a little less, you know, less aware, a little more naive. And I think that the purification journey assists us in generating this compassion. Part of the way it does this is that we are taken into the energetic truths of these situations. So we actually feel the truth behind a soul and what's going on with an interaction. We know if it's true evil, we know if it's pure ignorance, we know if it's somewhere in between. So we can actually feel these confusions. I remember one case I had with a lost soul that I thought had to be an evil spirit because it was such a bad haunting. And it was a lost soul manifesting as like a really dark witch type thing in an attic. And so I was going in mystically and prepared for war, you know. And it turned out to be a young girl who was had been very scared, and she was manifesting in this way. It wasn't okay that she was doing that, but she really just needed a lot of help. She was just a scared little girl, and she was just needed help crossing over. Now I've seen the opposite too, where it looks like it's totally not a big deal, kind of a haunting, and then you've got something really serious going on. You know, so it goes both ways. And that's why energetic truth is such an important factor with everything mystical and with everything human, because what you see is not necessarily what lies underneath. We have to know what is truly going on, not just what it appears to be. And that can be quite different. So I don't know if this is helpful, but
Yeah,
what happens is we learn to, it's almost like of the nature of the purification journey, of and by itself, we slowly become less judgmental. And part of it is that we recognize things within ourselves which force upon us that recognition that we're not really in a position to judge others. But we also, in the service we are given to return to creation, we learn so much more about what's going on with all these interactions that we learn the humility to never jump to any conclusions if you don't know what's going on, because we don't, because it could be totally different from what it appears to be. And that is one of our big human things, is jumping to conclusions when we don't know exactly what's going on. You know, that is a big thing that's human. But, you know, it is really just a support for the ego. You know, being judgmental of other people is just a support for the ego. Because it helps us to feel better about ourselves. If we really come to a place in society where we look at one another as sisters and brothers and try to create a brotherhood of peace, then we have to put ourselves in our brothers and sisters' shoes, which is what happens literally in the discrimination pathway and the discipline pathway. We are put in their shoes, and then we see things very differently, because we see their pain. We see what things led to the arising of these things within them. We see the ways that we might be able to assist them in overcoming those things. We learn what might be required to assist them to make a breakthrough. And then we start realizing that it's not really all about us. You know, it's about all of us. It's about every single one of us. You know what I mean?
And I think too, with me, sometime when I was first starting out, getting more and more spiritual, I believe I had a bit of a spiritual ego where,
That's common.
yeah. And so where I would kind of think like, oh, well, they're just not as spiritually evolved. Or, you know, if they were as spiritual as me, they would know that that is not the way to go. Yeah. You know, I wanted to ask you too, it's kind of a different question, but what is God? But also like synonyms of God. What are other words that people can use for God? And then really, what is God?
Well, God is creation. He is the energy behind everything. We all exist within the mind of God. We are part and parcel of this great universal consciousness that is God. God is a great and holy being that, and this is where I think some of the philosophies that people have pulled out about I am God and stuff, we're not God, but we do reside within God. You know, and so like when you looked at with the yogis talking about the selfness and the being within God and all that stuff, it's talking about this becoming aware of your presence inside of this great one consciousness, which is God. You know, there's lots of names for God. You know, there's Atman, there's Rama, there's Krishna, there's Christ, there's prophets. You know, in Islam they call it Allah. They call him Allah. Moses called him I am that I am. You know, and
Universal consciousness.
It's probably even the best answer to the question of who is God. Well, I am that I am. You know, you know? And, you know, in Zarathustra called him Ahura Mazda. And I'm trying to remember all the different ones that I can peek into here. You know, the Great Spirit for the Native Americans and the tribal cultures. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways of calling him. There's a lot more too, because if you go even just into like the Christian way. There's books that literally have thousands and thousands of names of God, you know, like Jehovah, Yahweh, what's that one? I have to do this off the top of my head, but I have these books that have them all. You know, there's like there's some question too, like about the Nephilim, where that ended up being attributed to the angelic, but there's some, you know, translators who say it was in relation to God. And then there's one that I think had an H in it. But, you know, there's a lot of names, but there's a lot of names of God. You know, in Hinduism, they refer to the universal vibration of which is something you actually hear in the out-of-body travel state when you're traveling in certain realms. And that's what they're referring to. You'll hear that. And, you know, if you can kind of understand it in the sense of the life stream, you know, the Sikhs refer to the sound streams, the light streams. And, you know, in these spheres, you really hear these beautiful sound streams and light streams. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's this sound, it's that vibration that you're hearing. But you're also seeing these beautiful things as well. And so if you can imagine, it's almost similar to, say you were flying around, you were a little organism flying around a human body, you know, and we have our blood streams and our oxygen streams. You know, we are within the body, the organism of God, and it's a different kind of body, but there's light streams and sound streams and there's visual streams, and it's just the kinds of things that are within and around it are unfathomable. And what goes beyond it is probably something so much more than any of us could even probably conceptualize. You know, so whether or not we'll be able to understand it after death, or if we'll have only a small part of that, you know, I don't know. But, you know, even if you listen to near-death experiencers, you're going to see that people are shown this vastness of God in steps. You know, the purification journey we are given in steps so that we can take these steps, because we do have to purify, become more holy to go closer to this all holy God. But we also have to take these steps in vibration, which we've talked about as vibration being knowledge, in order to get closer to God himself and to the higher spheres and the higher realms. But yet all of these realms exist within this universal mind, this universe. And yet we also know that there are many universes. So what does that mean? I can't answer that. It'll be interesting to find out when we cross over, assuming that we will still be able to know that, because I'm not sure we will. I think we will still only know in part, because I think God is so much greater than our comprehension. I think he still will be, even at that point. We'll know more, but there's still going to be so much more, because God as a being is so far beyond our fathoming. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. So you know what, Brian? I think we should take you into the Pure Lands. And what I would like to do now is, usually we do this with some aids and some sounds, but because of the issues with recording and Zoom, we're going to do this with voice primarily and see how that works for us. And what I will do is I'm going to hypnotize you. I'll be asking you questions, but then I will also delay, because I want the other people who are also going under hypnosis to be able to take note in their own minds of what they're seeing as we go along. But this way we can also follow your journey to the Pure Lands.
Okay.
Okay, so do you want to get set up, and we will, so everyone, it would be great if we can put everyone in a chair, not a chair, like a lying down position.
I'm just going to get ready. I'm going to be right back.
Okay, cool. So we want to be in a lying down position, whether on the couch, on the floor, on a bed, so that your body will feel comfortable with just relaxing and being completely able to fall into this experience. And so that's what we'll do. While we're waiting for Brian to get ready, I think we'll just throw out some excellent pieces of gold. Like as John of the Cross said, at the evening of life, we shall be judged on our love. And this is so beautifully stated, because this is the height and summit of the purification journey. We are learning how to become a more loving being, how to transform all those things within us that are not of love. And then we become able to also learn through these processes how we can also become love for others through the energetic realms, through mystical travel. Okay, so Brian, go ahead and start relaxing. Everyone, go ahead and start relaxing. I want you to start allowing your whole body to just kind of fall lax. I'm going to give you a quote from St. Catherine of Siena to fall into here, and then we'll go ahead and start bringing you into hypnosis and start our journey. The fruit which I destine for them, constrained by the prayers of my servants, is that I give them light, and that I wake up in them the hound of conscience, and make them smell the odor of virtue, and take delight in the conversation of my servants. Sometimes I allow the world to show them what it is, so that, feeling its diverse and various passions, they may know how little stability it has, and may come to lift their desire beyond it, and seek their native country, which is the eternal life. That's from St. Catherine of Siena. And this is what we are doing here. We're going to go to the Pure Lands now. So become aware of all the feelings and the physical sensations in your body. Allow yourself to notice if you have any places that are uncomfortable, and feel free to move around and do whatever you have to do to get comfortable in that part of your body. Notice how your body feels where you are lying. How your feet feel, how your back feels on the floor, on the bed, or on the couch, where your arms and hands are resting. Make sure your arms and hands are resting in a position that works for you, whether that's to your side, on your chest, on your belly. Any of those are fine. Make sure that your head, shoulders, and your neck are in a comfortable position. And notice how they feel, and allow those muscles to relax to make sure that you're in a position that's going to work here for you. I want you to start with your breathing now too. We're going to be focusing on the breath. We're basically doing what you would do in a mindfulness meditation, which is you focus on your breath. So your focus should be towards where you are breathing. When thoughts come into your mind, don't give them any thought. Don't worry about them. Don't have any concern. Just let them fall away. And just continue to focus on your breath, in and out, in and out. Any thought disturbs you, don't let that upset you either. Just continue to throw it out again and again if need be, and return your focus to that breath. So now notice all the sensations that you are experiencing with your seeing, hearing, smelling, feeling, and tasting. Notice how those feelings and sensations change from moment to moment, and how that is normal for that to happen. Focusing on your breath, allowing yourself to comfortably release and go deeper. Notice that you may have emotions, thoughts, and how those may continuously flow in and out. And they may come from hour to hour, day to day, month to month, yet you remain. That those feelings, sensations, emotions, thoughts, they're only a part of you. Your core is distinct from all of that, separate, yet still a part of you. We're going to begin journeying. We're going to take you deeper into your trance state. I'm going to begin counting back from 10. And with each number, your trance state is going to deepen 10,000-fold. 10. 'Remembering with each number, your depth of your trance is going to go 10,000-fold deeper. 9. For those who may be watching, what I'm doing here is something that I do a lot with my hypnosis clients, something I was taught to do by the angels, in linking my fingers and then connecting with my third eye and then pointing it directly towards the person I'm working with, which assists me in connecting with them energetically so that I can participate in their experience. That's what I'm doing here. 8. 7. 6. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're opening and emerging now in black space in the galactic heavens. Above you are the stars, the nebulas, the galaxies. You can feel the vibration of the galactic heavens, which is beautiful, vast, incomprehensible. Before you now, you see swirling stars that are forming into a tunnel. And allow yourself to watch as it forms itself and becomes more and more defined and clear. You know that when you step into this tunnel, you will be sucked into it and begin to travel at the speed of thought through space and time towards the Pure Lands where the masters reside. So you are preparing yourself for that journey. But before you go, you look towards your left and you see forming in the ether a being who is coming as a spiritual teacher and guardian to guide you along the way. So you watch as this soul manifests from nothing into something. And you notice everything about this soul. They look like, do they look human? Do they look like an animal? Do they look otherworldly? Kinds of clothing are they wearing? What colors? Type of hair do they have? Do they have hair? Do they have any special tools with them? A staff, or a coin, or a scroll? Can you tell me who has joined you, Brian?
I see bright light, the figure with a staff, maybe white long hair. You can see the face, yellow and white. Billowing clouds around her.
quietly bow to this person and thank them for coming. And also ask if they have a message for you before you start this journey.
Go.
Okay. So step forward towards the star tunnel, knowing that your special spiritual teacher and guardian will be following you right behind you. When you're ready, step into the tunnel. As you're soaring through it, you can feel the rapidity of the speed and the pressure that you feel when you're moving through one of these tunnels. It's intense. It's like a liberating, but yet almost like a crushing sensation. It's awesome, but yet intense at the same time. Off in the distance, you can see a light. You're not there yet, but you're moving towards it. As you get to that entrance, allow yourself to drop gently through and land in the Pure Lands. Your spiritual guardian will land right there alongside you. Once you've landed, allow yourself to take in your environment, your surroundings, just where you are, and prepare for the next part of your journey here. So looking at your spiritual teacher, you notice if he brought any special tools with him.
There's a small chest. Little treasure chest. He's opening it. It's like a giant pink sapphire. Brilliant lights going in all directions. It's filling up my third eye. Like an aurora.
How does it feel as it enters into your third eye?
I feel like I'm looking at this place intermittently through my third eye, and it looks completely different. It's like energy particles through my regular eyes, but through the third eye, it's like a window. And I'm just getting flashes, but it's brilliant colors, and the energy takes shape. Amazing colors.
Ask him if he wishes you to take the journey using your third eye or your physical eyes, or a combination of both.
He wants me to take it with my third eye.
So we want to bow and thank him. What a beautiful gift. Tell us, Brian, what are you seeing in the Pure Land around you? You may see, because this is the world where the masters reside, you may see them sitting under trees, floating in the skies, walking in the fields. You may see scrolls, you may see beautiful landscapes. You may see the fact that there are 2 suns and 4 moons that are visible in the daytime sky. What do you see here? Especially with this gift that you've been given, the pink sapphire in your third eye.
See a waterfall.
Right?
I see robes. A yogi in robes in easy pose, holding up the right hand.
The yogi is holding up his right hand.
In Gyan Mudra,
Okay.
cross-legged, floating.
Okay.
Steam or mist.
And what does this mudra mean to you?
Sending out love.
Okay. The pink sapphire is also a symbol of love. And love is the energy that fuels the purification, discrimination, and discipline pathways. You're receiving a great deal of energy for your path. Is this yogi wishing to speak with you?
I feel like my ability to hear is maybe another step. It's just energetic.
Receiving a great deal of energy, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being here is, my whole body's vibrating really strongly.
Go ahead and look around and notice all the others that you see. And allow yourself to continue receiving this love from the yogi as you notice the others who are also there. Receiving a constant stream of light from the yogi.
I've just had a heart opening, a release.
Is it the yogi who is doing this for you?
Yeah, his hand.
Okay, beautiful.
And there's rays now, thousands. Going all over, just straight lines of light beaming out at me.
Beautiful.
My third eye is opening a little bit more, and a little bit of my crown chakra.
Excellent.
It's more crown that's beginning now. This is connecting to my heart. More of a crown heart connection. My body's not existent, just light.
Become particulate matter, so to speak.
Becoming emotional.
What are you feeling with the emotions?
Gratitude, gratefulness, love, blessedness.
Here in the Pure Lands, there is no mass retain. There is no unprocessed thoughts or thinking. Everything is pure here. See how light, free that is. When you're ready, bow to the yogi. Thank him. Namaste. Look to your spiritual teacher and guardian who will accompany you to the next location. We're going to take you now to your special location in the Pure Lands. This is your place of retreat. It can be a little cabin, it can be a little beach house, it can be anything, anywhere in the Pure Lands. And you're going to be able to visit this place anywhere at any time in your thoughts, in your walks, your meditations, your out-of-body travels, your hypnosis, your consciousness journeys, your dreams, anything. You will be able to reach this place whenever you need it. I'm going to count back from 5 to 1. When we reach 1, you're going to instantly be there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Where are you now in the Pure Lands?
I'm seated, cross-legged. On the clear water that goes on endlessly. It's like glass. And the skies, there's nothing. It's like clear transparency everywhere.
All is pure, all is good. In this place, there are no battles. This place is all purity. This is the realm where the highest thoughts dwell. You can seek the wisdom of the masters. Are you out in the open?
Yes, everything is open and goes on infinitely.
Allow yourself to breathe in pure air. And as you do, you can see and feel every molecule in your soul, in your spiritual and physical body transforms into completely pure land. And as you are here, You hear the echoes of the Bodhisattva Caryavatara, or the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, the words on the horizon, which is words that every master in the Pure Land is familiar with. You take these in. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Another voice is heard in the winds from where you sit. You hear the words of Christ. He says, "Let the greatest sinners place their trust in my mercy. They have the right before others to trust in the abyss of my mercy. Write about my mercy towards tormented souls. Souls that make an appeal to my mercy delight me. To such souls I grant even more graces than they ask. I cannot punish even the greatest sinner if he makes an appeal to my compassion. Before I come as a judge, I first open wide the door of my mercy. He who refuses to pass through the door of my mercy must then pass through the door of my justice. Thou mayest step on the right path and walk in the presence of angels. Thou mayest sing of the earthly day and of Father by night, and through thy being may course the golden stream of the law. And as you prepare to leave, you hear the echoing sound of the great master poet Rumi giving you a parting word of wisdom. You contemplate deeply on words. A lover was telling his beloved how much he loved her, how faithful he had been, how self-sacrificing,
getting up at dawn every morning, fasting, giving up wealth and strength and fame, all for her. There was a fire in him. He didn't know where it came from, but it made him weep and melt like a candle. You've done well, she said, but listen to me. All this is the decor of love, the branches and leaves and blossoms. You must live at the root to be a true lover. Where is that? Tell me. You've done the outward acts, but you died. You must die. When he heard that, he lay back on the ground laughing and died. He opened like a rose that drops to the ground and died laughing. That laughter was his freedom and his gift to the eternal. As moonlight shines back at the sun, he heard the call to come home and went. When light returns to its source, it takes nothing of what it has illuminated. It may have shone on a garbage dump or a garden or in the center of a human eye. No matter, it goes. And when it does, the open plain becomes passionately desolate, wanting it back. Before you, the swirling star tunnel is beginning to swirl and open. Your spiritual guardian and teacher is with you as you prepare to step it as coming. When you feel that it has fully formed and you are ready to step into the tunnel, allow yourself to be sucked in. You'll be moving at the speed of thought back towards the galactic heavens. Follow the speed of thought. Whisked, feeling pressure, the intensity. Consider the shortness of time. Return. Reflect how everything here below comes to an end, passes by. Make a promise to your soul that you will follow a deeper way. As you land in the galactic heavens with your spiritual teacher and guardian, your spiritual teacher takes hands. He is transmitting to you, or she, all the energies of your journeys into the Pure Land. The master for whom you have seen and received energy from, the vibrations you received from him or her, the gifts you received from your spiritual guardian and teacher, all the gifts you received in your special, holy, sacred, and very quiet place. Allow yourself to take in all this energy and know as I speak to your subconscious now, that you can reach all of this, your lands, your sacred place, your special master, and your special spiritual teacher, guardian, and the energy, the vibrations that have been given to you in your thoughts, in your words, in your walks, in your dreams, in your hypnosis, your meditations, in your out-of-body travels, in your consciousness journeys, and every other way that you may need to reach to them. An access has been created energetically and vibrationally that you can now reach from a conscious place instantly. We are now going to start bringing you back to your bodily awareness. So you may start becoming slowly aware of your body in the room. I'm going to start bringing you back as I count up from 1 to 10. Your trance state will be diminishing each number that we pass by. 1. Start feeling your feet and your hands. 2. Your legs and your arms. More feeling is coming into them. 3. Torso. 4. Your neck, your head. 5. Mouth, your nose, your eyes, your face. 6. Starting to have normal feeling return to your body, the numbness is subsiding. 7. 8. 9. Open your eyes when you're ready. And 10. You're back to conscious reality. Welcome back, Brian. Welcome back to everyone else. So we're out of time here. We'll join you guys in the Q&A. I'm putting up our 21 days, which is going to include a program of bringing prayer, meditation, and spiritual reading into your life. The details will be on the screen for you as to how to do that in the proper stages and steps that I would like you to consider trying. And Brian, would you like to share anything before we close out?
No, just thank you very much, Marilynn.
You're very welcome, Brian. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you to everyone for joining us.
this.